Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, 320 Sim Pilot. I'm a real-world airline pilot, but in today's video I'm going to take you for a flight in the JustFlight Hawk T1 and T1A for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and now newly released for 2024. So if you have the 2020, you can now get the 2024 version already. It's a free update, so you can download that different version from the JustFlight store or your third party where you bought it from. You can also now have the version 2 of the Hawk, which is what this is. So they've upgraded it in many ways, including the flight model. You have launchable missiles now, and we have some exciting new features to take you through in today's video. The Hawk was one of my all-time favorite add-ons to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I was blown away when it launched, and it's great to see it come now to 2024 because it was so far ahead of the game at the time. So it has really stood the test of time and is a fantastic aircraft. We're going to do some flying in the Mach Loop like we did with our Vulcan, and it'll be a bit quicker today in the Hawk. We're also going to take it for some aggressive aerobatics and fire a few weapons. So quite a lot of fun to be had with this aircraft today. That's it then, let's get started. The Hawk first joined the RAF in 1976. It's an advanced jet trainer, so it's for fighter pilots to learn their craft before heading onto aircraft such as the Tornado and the Eurofighter as it was. The Hawk T1 that we have here is the older variant of the aircraft, and we have the T2 is the one aircraft out there now, but this is the slightly older variant, the T1, the original Hawk, and then the T1A, which is the one that includes missiles. So we'll see a bit more about that later on. So here we have our JustFlight Hawk T1. As ever, Microsoft Flight Simulator takes us nowhere near where we wanted it to be. Yeah, so you have just the T1 version, but if you configure it, you can see that there's a few different options to be had here. You can actually change a lot of these things on the fly, as it were, once you're in the sim. But in terms of variant, we have the Hawk T1, and then we have our different liveries, so you can choose having it set up for the red arrows, of course, and then you have a few of training liveries and a few actual military liveries as well. So, for example, we have here the Saudi Falcons for another display team. And what we're going to take up today is the RAF Valley training airplane, which is something we can then take through the Mach Loop as that's up nearby. Good. The Hawk T1, which we have here, is the original version of the Hawk, first entering service with the RAF in 1976. So it's been around a long time now. This is then later became the T1A, or you could have a T1A option, I should say, where you had missiles fitted. So this is the T1. If you want a T1A, which is also available in this package, I'll show you how. You can have the missiles fitted to that, and they do actually launch, which you'll see later on in this video. Then the T2 came along later in 2009, the first deliveries of that, but that is not what this airplane is. This is the original T1. This is also what the Red Arrows fly. The exterior model on this airplane was one of the best I'd seen in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 when it came out, and now that it's been updated into version 2 and we see it in Flight Simulator 2024, it still holds up as one of the very best. It's excellent all round. The team did such a good job with it. As you move the camera closer, you'll never find something that looks disappointing. Look at that intake, just where the paint's been flaking off around it. It's just great. I absolutely love looking at it. And it's also used some great sort of different texturing. I guess it's the PBR. You've got the reflecting paint surfaces on the metal, and you've got oil stains and marks all around this airplane to make it seem like a serviceable aircraft, which is fantastic. As you move around it as well, you've got all the right panel lines, and they reflect so beautifully in the sun. As well as all the modelling you'd expect with things like these vortex generators. These are used to increase the controllability of the wing at high angles of attack. They help keep the airflow energized, so keep it stuck to the wing, so things like flaps and ailerons keep working, and the wing can still produce lift. As we come down the back here, you'll see the sun glint over the top of the fuselage, and this way you'll start to get a sense of how nice that detailing is. Look at those panel lines, oil stains, gorgeous. It's such a great model. Big things they've changed though is the flight model, so let's get this thing into the air and see how it feels. I love, by the way, the fact that they've so nicely modelled the rivets at the back. You have flush rivets usually on aircraft, of course, because you want it to be streamlined. They produce drag. But around the back of airplanes, you often get these slightly less flush ones, as you see all around the back here. And I don't know whether they're lighter, but I'm assuming they're either lighter or cheaper, or or easier to work with. But it's just considered that they don't make much of an aerodynamic difference at the back part of the fuselage here. The first airliner I ever flew had this exact same thing, the Q500. The checklists have been correctly moved over, so they're now in the EFB. We can go here to the runway checks, for example, and you can see the method for taking off, which is pretty good news. and you can go through those, of course, and they have the pre-flight if you want to do the entire initial checks for this aircraft, which I did in my previous video with it, so we won't go through all of that right here today. What we're going to do is get it into the air, and then we'll have a look at a few of the options available. Right, so holding it on the brakes, we're going to spool up the engine a bit. I'm just going to let it stabilise for a second there. Release the brake. There we go, full power. Looking for 104%. As the airspeed, which is over here, reaches 95, we can just gently raise the nose and then get it going. Now I'm using an Xbox controller for this video, which makes it quite tricky to do that without it sort of jerking around. It won't do that if you're using a joystick, but it is quite fiddly to do with an Xbox controller. So we'll just hold the nose gently off the ground there, and then at 120 knots, there you go, I can just feel it, it's lifted off, and we'll bring the gear up, and I'm just gently releasing controls. It is a twitchy aeroplane, but again, that's particularly noticeable using an Xbox controller. You have to be very, very smooth with that left analog stick. Right, nose coming down, accelerating, accelerating, accelerating. Once we're at safe speed, retrimming, bringing in those flaps, and we are now away. We have a airshow configuration, which gives us that pod underneath. Let's just set up a route to the Mach Loop, of course, which is where we're going to take it. We'll go around it a little bit quicker than we did in the Vulcan. So I'm going to just put this airport just because I know it happens to be nearby. Do direct to. Centre on us. We need to make a bit of a right turn. Look at that climb rate. It is a speed machine. We'll bring the thrust back now to a more suitable cruising thrust. I'll let it climb up above these clouds. And we're basically just following the coastline down. Now this is a fast machine, make no mistake. We're not running at full power, though we are pretty high at 95%. But look at that, we're doing Mach decimal, almost decimal 8.8, which is quick. 17,000 feet up. It took no time at all to get up here. I'm just going to correct our route now down. We're going to head over to that coastline. Great visuals of the flight deck. I love this sort of ejector wire that they have, which is used to, I believe it's used to shatter open the canopy during an ejection. There we go. Now this is, as I said, the airshow variant that we're flying here. It's got the smoke pod fitted underneath, so I'm just going to retrim it for level flight. Bit of an unusual picture at level flight. It actually feels like you're a bit nose down, but you can see here that's climbing quite aggressively. We need to get the nose lower and lower, and that will get us into level flight, somewhere about there. It's taking me a long time to get used to that, and I'm still struggling with it a little bit. We have the version 3 of the EFB now in this version, so as well as the improved flight model, which we'll see shortly. In here I can configure it. So it's configured to be a red arrow right now, which just means we have the smoke and so on. But I can swap that over to be a T1, where it's just used for training. So it doesn't have a weapons panel, and it doesn't have smoke panels either. This is sort of the clean, fast jet trainer that you would use for, you know, actually getting the business of training fighter jets pilots done. Or at least you used to when this was the airplane they used. And you can also, oh that's cool, I haven't seen that before. Pop up the little stopwatch and so on. Awesome. We can also change it to be a T1A, which is the aircraft with weapons, hence we get the sight on the coaming there, and then you have a weapons panel over here. Now the weapons panel is pretty cool. You can either assign the firing of weapons to a key, or you can do it through the inbuilt in the cockpit. So I have 2 missiles fitted on rails on the wing and a gun pod underneath, and you can adjust that all down on the EFB. So if I want to change that gun pod to a display tank, I can do that. I can put on external tanks instead of the weapons. They are big and heavy though. You can see there the airplane immediately reacts. If you take one off, the whole thing just rolls over on you. Pretty cool. So we have the pylons attached because you need that, and then if I put 2 AIM-9 missiles on, there we go, we have 2 missiles on the wings there. So you can just swap that around in real time, and as I was saying, this is included in this version. If you bought it from the marketplace in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, you'll get this update as well, but you won't be able to fire the missiles. However, they are now visible, which is a big step forward because previously that was not allowed. So that's good. So you are getting more of a representation of the airplane in your sim using the marketplace. So I think that's better. If they're going to sell military airplanes, I don't see why they shouldn't include the missiles on them. But the next thing I want to show you is that you can fire the weapons. So I don't actually know the full procedure for this, but I have managed to get it to work. First of all, I'm going to unlock the weapons over here. Fusing, I'm not sure what the NT does, but I'm going to put port and starboard on for the pylon select. Then you can turn the coolant on, which I'm going to do. And anything else I need to do? You also have a gun up here for the gun pod, and then you can choose your weapon. But I'm hoping I can select, there we go, port. And then down here we can open up, and this is our trigger button. So we're now cruising along. I've armed the port missile, and then I'm going to hit that, and off it goes. Look at that. Not something I've seen before in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And then if I want to swap, I can select the right one and fire. Now, of course, this is totally not how it's done, but there we go. We've successfully done that. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Not something I've managed before. Let's put it back into the red arrow configuration, or sorry, the T1 configuration we'll do for our flight through the Mach Loop. You can also get rid of the GPS. I don't like having it out there in the way of the site. So, and then there's an autopilot you can engage down here if you want to go on longer cruises. And then here are the external equipments like the steps, covers, and so on. Good. Right, let's take it into the loop, which is down here. We're currently overhead of the town, I think. So we'll bring it around and follow the river up into the valley. Now we are going to do a bit of an airshow routine later on, but I just want to have a quick go at the aerobatics, or the, I should say the handling of this aircraft, just to start with in the sim now, just to give us an idea, because a lot of things change with Microsoft Flight Simulator's model between Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024, but also in the model in 2020 since the Hawk was released. So they have added these new features and areas of the flight envelope that they can into the sim. So I'm just going to trim it out, and then let's just see. So it's always been a lovely handling airplane. You'll see it be a bit twitchy in this video, and that again is because I'm using an Xbox controller. So you'll see it here that if I move the controls all the way around, it has a very good roll rate at this speed, nice and slow. But if we take it a bit faster, that will soon disappear off. It's very sensitive on pitch, but that would make sense. It has a full flying stabilizer, the Hawk, so this whole panel moves, which is a lot of authority, which you don't see in all aircraft, especially in the trainer style. You see it in fighter jets more often. But there we go. But as we accelerate the aircraft, oh, it's a real treat to fly this. It's just so nice. But yeah, very, very twitchy there. And now the roll rate is slightly reduced. As you can see, the force pushing against those controls, making it harder to move them. So I like that. As you put it through a loop, you'll soon hit the G. You can get the G buffet there, which is absolutely awesome. And there's the grey/blackout coming along. You can see your G up here, so that's sustained 4. We can put it through to 6 Gs, and we've reached 8. You can see there's 7 Gs sustained, and that's too much. I don't think there were G suits in the Hawk. Oh, gone a bit too far there. So that's cool. It's got that feature still modelled. Let's bring the power back now, try it out for stall. I would imagine a Hawk would be quite a reasonable airplane in the stall. Very effective air brake, by the way. If I deploy it there, you can't have it with the gear down in case it strikes the runway, but it's a very effective thing to deploy when you have the aircraft in the clean configuration. It just really, really works well as a brake. So let's trim it out and take it for a bit of a stall. Coming through 200 knots. Let's get the nose up now. Expecting to see some buffets. I can hear the buffet, that's cool, 100 knots. And it's just washing forwards. Yeah, that's what I would expect. It's a very stable airframe, so that's nice. It's actually quite hard to get it wrong, really. Look at that. That's full up elevator, air brake out. I'll trim it up a bit more just in case that gives us a bit more authority. But even though there's no slats, it's a very stable airplane. These vortex generators are doing a good job keeping that wing energized even at low speed, and it's just gently recovering on us, which is great. Let's put the air brake away. There it is, that goes away. Not much to say here, so let's put the rudder in. Let's see if we can get it into a bit of a spinning situation. Almost going. And there it goes. Right, let's recover that. So get the nose down, roll to the nearest horizon. Oh, I rolled away from it there. A little hard for me to read that, that artificial horizon. And nose up. There we go. Nice. Yeah, very nice. And you'll see as we fly through the Mach Loop, we'll get a bit more of a taste for its handling. Scenery looking very nice in 2024 here. Dense forests, dense towns. Low and fast is going to be interesting because I'll be curious to see if my computer can actually load in the scenery down here quick enough. We shall see. That, by the way, that noise is the pilot breathing, doing the breathing technique that you need to do when you're under high G situations. The mirrors also working nicely. They're definitely a bit more representative of what's going on behind you than they were in the 2020 version. Excellent. Okay, here we go then. Mach Loop is just beneath us, powering back. We're at 450 knots, and we'll head down into the river, or into the valley, which is down here. Sun glinting off it. Awesome. We're doing it a lot faster. The Vulcan we could only take through at about 200 to 250 knots maximum because of its performance in turns was not capable of going much faster than that. So we are now running quite a bit faster, although 500 knots is perhaps a bit sporty. There we go. Get that under control. I'm planning to keep it about 400 to 450 knots if I can as we head down here. Currently about 1,000 feet, so let's drop it down into the valley. It's a bit high. There we go. Awesome. Performance of the Hawk is very good in terms of frame rates, by the way. It's a relatively light add-on to have. Still doing 460. I'm going to keep the power where it is, and hopefully that will keep us in a sensible speed range. It's a careful power management you need to go with in the Hawk. It doesn't have all the power in the world. There's no afterburners either, so you can get yourself into a little bit of trouble if you're not careful. So it's worth keeping the throttles in mind. By the way, you can see animals and cows and things down on the field, which is absolutely awesome. I hadn't noticed that until I was filming these videos. Okay. Heading up here. Around into this valley, if I can get it right. Remember, I don't actually know the Mach Loop, but I think we're going the right way here. 400 knots, we can go a bit faster than that, powering up. You have to keep your camera sort of focused up high slightly because of the way that the nose just sits so low. You can see it from the exterior as well, the way the cockpit sits positioned sort of pointing down. It's an amazing forward view, I've got to say. Right, I love flying this bit. You can do the Maverick maneuver that we learned in the Maverick expansion. Roll over the top. Keep it down. Not that low, maybe. Right, left turn up here, around, I think it's called the spur. Around here. I would absolutely love to go and see an airplane fly through the Mach Loop. It's such a cool idea. 400 knots still. Powering back a little bit, it's about to get a bit tricky. I'm going to use the air brake just for a moment here, just to help me out. Canopy against that side of the valley. Oh, that air brake's a bit too powerful there. Let's keep that away now. Down to 300 knots. I've had to slow down a bit here. And we're going to go left here. Need to get back up to 400s. Around we go. One. Now I'm not entirely sure of the routing from here. We had to bail out in the Vulcan. Let's see if we can actually stick with it in the Hawk. Apologies again for that overly aggressive turning you're seeing. Again, that's caused by the air brake out. Get the nose around this corner. That's just caused by my Xbox controller being not the ideal way to control this airplane. Air brake away. Put it around this corner. And then I'm just not sure where you're supposed to go. Do you go right? Gonna run out of valley. Gonna run out of valley. We'll climb up over it. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, this now brings us back to the start, and this is the valley that we entered in the first place. So, one day I'll figure out how to finish off that loop. But there we go. Let's take it back for a bit of an air show and a landing. Right, here we are, absolutely rocketing back to RAF Valley. Bring the power back a little bit. You can't just go max thrust everywhere, but it's a fast machine when you do. And we'll go for a bit of an air show. We'll do some loops and turns and see how it feels. And yeah, I'll let you enjoy that view and the sounds. so here we are back at RAF Valley. We're downwind. We have one stage of flap out. Bringing the power back. The airplane can run away with you. You have to modulate the power carefully. Let's lower the landing gear. You can hear it. The engine actually, I think it spools up to a sort of approach idle when you do that. Let's bring it round the turn. Get it into trim nice and early. Doing 130 knots seems reasonable. Don't go any slower because I can hear the airplane rumbling. But as soon as you get that nose down, it does start to accelerate on you. So it is a powerful machine. You've got to really balance it, or run away with you very easily. Round the turn, back at 110. That seems a bit slow, so I'll keep the power on. There we go. Right. Just going to hold it there. Let's touchdown. And a bit of a skip. Power back to idle. Let the nose gear come down. Nice and gentle on the rudder. Get on those wheel brakes, which are very effective. And there we go. Welcome back to the grounds. Oh, you can see the brakes lock up there. That's cool. Let's set that parking brake. So there we are. That's all for today's video. The JustFlight Hawk T1, T1A and Red Arrow in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's been good fun for me to take another run through the Mach Loop and also to get this airplane in the air once again. It's such a favourite of mine in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and absolutely fantastic in 2024 as you would expect. This is the version 2, so they've added these new features, so it's only gotten better. And yeah, really a good bit of fun. Thank you to JustFlight for sending this over. And there'll be plenty more videos, guides, live streams coming on the channel, so do please subscribe if you'd like to see those. We'll see you again in the near future. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.